Good morning, everyone. A beautiful morning up here on the mountain. I am just loving my time out here. It's a splendid morning. Every year around this time, I like to review my top 10 favorite images from the previous year, but today I wanted to do something a little bit different. Instead of just reviewing the images, I also wanted to share with you what techniques I used in order to get those images. This video is going to be full of tips that will help you to improve your own wildlife photography. And if there's a picture that you see and you want to see the video or the adventure that led up to it, I will put links to all those videos in the description below so you can check those out if you're interested. So let's review. 2024 is a wonderful year and I can't wait to share these pictures with you. Let's get into it. As in past years, these pictures are in no way ordered chronologically or from least favorite to most favorite, anything like that. Honestly, I don't think I could choose a single favorite if I had to, but I would love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments what image you like best and why. I always love your input and feedback. Last spring, I took a few days to focus on photographing a species that I hadn't for years, short-eared owls. Over these few days, I had some amazing encounters as I learned which areas the owls were spending the most time in, and as I did so, I noticed many patches of small purple flowers dotting the landscape. I came across one particularly large patch and envisioned the image in my mind, an owl flying in the evening light with the flowers in the background. I found the best angle for the shot that I wanted and waited as the owls flew around in the distance. Finally, after what seemed like ages, an owl approached and I turned the image I had in my mind into reality. I found it's always good to have goal images in your mind and a specific plan on how to get them. Change your plans as needed, but always have some goal photos in your mind that you're working towards. It makes your photography so much more fulfilling. When photographing wildlife, very rarely will you have perfect light to work with. I've photographed sage grouse countless times, and many of those times are in perfect light. Last spring, I was with a group of sage grouse. It was cold, and there was a slight fog in the air. As the sun rose, I chose to shoot into the sun rather than keep it at my back like we're told in order to have perfect light. By doing so, the fog exploded with color and I was able to capture the grouse's breath on that chilly morning. Don't be afraid to break the rules in photography. Your photos will probably turn out much better as a result and you'll be able to really practice and hone your creativity. We've all had those times in our photography when the sun peeks out from behind the clouds only to disappear again a few moments later. At times like these, I like to keep an eye on the clouds and time when the sun will peek out again. I did this earlier last year when photographing some red foxes on the Alaskan tundra. As the sun would approach a clear spot in the sky, I would reposition myself to make sure I was in the right place to best utilize the light as it broke through the clouds. This resulted in one of my favorite images, a beautiful female silver fox basking in the brief sunlight before it disappeared again behind the clouds. One of the quickest ways to improve your wildlife photography is by incorporating natural elements of the surrounding landscape into your photos. One of the elements that I like to include the most are reflective bodies of water. As I photographed some mountain goats this summer, a nanny and kid began to move from a flower-filled meadow to a nearby lake. The water was calm and clear. The mother goat began to cross as the kid curiously watched from the bank. This moment gave me one of my favorite images from the year. If you followed my channel for a while now, you know how much I love to promote learning about animal behavior and how animals interact with their landscape and habitat and using that knowledge to improve your photography. Take something as seemingly repetitive as bears fishing in Alaska. These rivers and streams may all look the same initially, but as you observe and study the landscape, you start to learn these slight variations that really change how the bears act. One evening last summer, I was photographing these fishing bears. I was trying to make some more creative images by using backlight when I had an idea. I looked over the river for the spot that I was looking for, a deeper spot that would cause the bears to be completely submerged as they dove for fish. I waited, and finally a bear approached, jumped in, and soon came out and gave me a nice shake. This doesn't happen as often in other parts of the river, so by knowing the nuances of the landscape and how your animal is likely to behave and interact with the landscape, you can predict and plan, make sure you're in position to get the photo that you want before it happens. How many times have you been out in nature and nothing is happening, and then suddenly an animal appears, or an animal that you had been watching suddenly explodes into action? You open your backpack, grab your camera, and turn it on. The settings aren't where you need them, so you adjust them as needed and go to take your picture only to see that the moment has passed. Sitting outside at Kit Fox Den last year, nothing was happening and no foxes could be seen. Nevertheless, each time the light would change, I would adjust the settings to make sure my exposure was correct and then continue to wait. Suddenly, an adult fox appeared with a rodent it had just caught. It paused for maybe 2 seconds and was gone as suddenly as it had appeared. Always keep your camera ready and properly exposed, even when you don't see anything around. In my opinion, learning about and knowing animal behavior is one of, if not the best thing you can do for your wildlife photography. Being able to know what an animal might do before it happens gives you a huge advantage when you're out with your camera. This summer, while on one of my group bear workshops, we were photographing a mother bear and her cubs. She began to look just past us at something in the distance. Because she had small cubs with her and couldn't quite see what she was trying to, I told everyone to get their cameras ready. Sure enough, she stood up to get a better look and even looked at us for a split second. It's not always that simple, but just remember, one of the best things that you can do for your wildlife photography is learning about animal behavior. Last year, I made it out for a few days to photograph some foxes. The weather was poor and I didn't get much time actually with the foxes. After a couple of days waiting out the storm, it finally broke and all the foxes seemed to emerge at once. I had a wonderful evening and came away with some of my favorite fox images from 2024. 2 in particular stood out. I can't decide which one I like better. Let me know which one you prefer and why in the comments below. I've made a lot of mistakes in my wildlife photography journey, one of them being not giving owls enough space to hunt and feel comfortable when I'm photographing them. I've found over the years that the more room you give owls, the more they'll become comfortable and start to fly and hunt right towards you. That's exactly what I did on a recent great gray owl adventure. Giving this beautiful owl ample room to hunt and feel comfortable, he soon began to fly so close I could have reached out and touched him. I spent the entire day with him and came away with one of my favorite images from 2024. I feel so grateful for all of the amazing wildlife encounters that I had in 2024 and the resulting images. I had so many fun adventures, but one of them stands out from all of the others: my time up in the Arctic photographing muskox. This was a lifelong goal for me and a dream come true to finally do it. I got a lot of fun images in my time out there, but one above all stood out from the others. This was my first encounter with a muskox. I loved the picture, but more than anything, the memory and the emotions I felt in that moment. It can be difficult just finding wildlife to photograph sometimes. If you want to see a real-life example of one of my favorite methods to find wildlife to photograph, check this video out here. 2024 was an amazing year for photography, but I can't wait for this year and the adventures that I have in store to take you along with me on. Thanks for following along. I always appreciate it. We'll see you next time.